Welcome to the Dragon Ball Access Podcast with Smugstick and Dragon Ball University.
Hello, I'm Josh from Dragon Ball University.
And I'm Luis from Smugstick. Today we're going to be discussing TeamFourStar and Dragon Ball Z Abridged, probably one of the most influential things to come out of the fandom in the past few decades at this point.
All of time that Dragon Ball has existed, yeah, for sure. I mean, I've had a few influencers, especially from like the YouTube community, but this would not be happening if it weren't for them. They were the guys that made me go, wait a minute, you can just talk about Dragon Ball Z and make videos and people will watch them. And I mean, it's not quite as simple as all that, but yeah, it really, know them, know this. That's really all there is to it. They've been incredibly influential. They've grown exponentially over the course of the last decade, and I haven't been with them all the way through, to be fair. I got into TeamFourStar around mid-2011, so the first 3 years or so I wasn't really around for. I kind of went back and binged up through about halfway through Season 2 and then got on from there. But yeah. I can definitely say all of the Androids in Cell Saga, I have been watching episodes within 5 to 10 minutes of them hitting the release.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I started watching them a bit earlier than you. I say a bit, but it's really basically when they started. They were like 5 episodes in when I found them. Yeah, it was exciting. I don't know. It was a really weird time in my life because I had just moved to the United States, and I basically knew no English, but I knew Dragon Ball, and I knew the basic plot of Dragon Ball. So looking up Dragon Ball stuff on YouTube, which I had been doing ever since YouTube came out, basically, I eventually found TeamFourStar. Probably something to do with the fact that I was living in the US at that point, which is why I hadn't seen them before. But I found them, I started watching them, and I have to say that all of the TeamFourStar guys, they were basically my English teachers, because it's thanks to them that I learned English. I just kept watching the episodes, and I remember watching the season finale for season 1, which was the final part of Goku versus Vegeta, and it was the most exciting time. And it was the coolest thing ever. And I remember watching the finale of the Frieza Saga 2. That one's probably my favorite. And it's just been great all the way through.
Wow. So add that to their long list of things they've done. Not only did you really reignite a dormant flame in the fandom of the entire Dragon Ball community, but you also taught Luis English. So no Smokestick without you guys either. There's no end to what you guys have accomplished. And it's really just... It's awesome to see, and their evolution has been incredible. And it's fun. You're mentioning the season 1 finale. I actually just this afternoon rewatched all of season 1 because it's been so long since I've gone back to their Saiyan saga, and I want to find a way to say this without sounding like I'm dissing them, because I'm really not. But it is just incredible to see how far they've come in terms of quality. It was still hilarious. Everything was great, but it's just hearing the differences in their audio recording quality, seeing the differences in Kaiser's editing techniques, just how much clearer all the footage is. It's really go watch the first episode and then watch episode 60 and look at just the palpable difference there is between those two. And it was amazing to see them evolve. And I know a couple of times they've mentioned, I've seen a few different polls they've done asking people if they think they should redo season 1, and a part of me really hopes they do, even if just visually. Like, I wouldn't mind hearing all the same jokes again, and don't even change the scripts, just re-record and re-edit it all to make it have a consistent look throughout the entire series. Because admittedly too, it was a little distracting. I kind of forgot that they used the orange bricks for season 1, and I mean, I own all 9 of them, so I'm not one to complain by any means, but it is a little jarring to see it go from widescreen and the different filters that they had on it to go back to the original, like, Dragon Box footage from season 2 on.
Yeah, man, it's I like season 1 for what it is and how they've come since then. But and I do remember the tweets you're talking about, them saying if about remaking season 1. And honestly, they could honestly, for me, just keep the video and just re-record the audio, because that's the thing that really bothers me from back then.
Yeah, some of the mics were pretty rough back then.
Yeah, and it's just, they've also gotten so much better with their acting. Not that they were bad back then by any means, but like, Lanny Pator's Krillin, specifically, I think is so good right now.
Absolutely. His Vegeta has grown leaps and bounds, too.
Yeah, for sure.
It's always been a good Vegeta, but it doesn't sound like it hurts him anymore. And season 1, watching it today, I was just like, ow, like that whole time, just how was your throat after every episode? Because that was work.
The only thing that I would want them to change, like script-wise, would be the joke, and I think it's episode 1 where Piccolo brings up what was that one website?
MySpace?
He brings up MySpace. And it's really out of place compared to everything else that's in the series.
It does feel strange now because MySpace largely doesn't exist anymore. I mean, I think it does. I'm pretty sure if you type myspace.com, the internet doesn't collapse in on itself, but that's about it. I noticed that too. Like, he was talking about Tom being his friend and all that, and then switching. But it was nice because then they later on addressed by saying they switched to Facebook a long time ago. And they continued that right through, like, Krillin's crush on Android 18 and the Android saga. They were still making Facebook references.
This is true, yeah. I don't know. It's crazy because there's been some times where I just rewatch the first season. And I've done it every now and then for the past few years, and I gotta say, some of my favorite episodes are on season 1, and some of my favorite jokes are on season 1. Like, of course, Ghost Nappa's a classic, you know?
Oh, of course. That's one of the biggest things is there's a little bit of Nappa sprinkled here and there throughout the rest of the series, but there was, like, with the exception of Ghost Nappa, like, if you want Nappa, you gotta go all the way back to the first 10 episodes of the series. And I do
exactly.
like, though, that they found that loophole to bring him back from the dead and make him a movie producer and all that. It was really cool, especially in Dead Zone Abridged. I really liked how they roped him into that.
Yeah.
And even the callback from, actually, I think it was the season 2 finale where Nappa became a producer. Like, he called Vegeta in the space pod and showed that realistic picture of Mr. Satan and saying, we got to work on that name, though. I'm thinking Hercule. And then they brought that back full circle with season 3 when Nappa was the one that called Mr. Satan about the Cell games.
Did he?
Speaking of that, yes, yeah, it was after the credits, if you want to consider it that. I honestly could not tell you which episode right off the top of my head, but I mean, it was the end of the episode where Cell announces the Cell games on ZTV to the world. You get Nappa sitting in a chair, like they redrew the whole thing, and Nappa's sitting in a chair and saying, so get ready to do some push-ups, sit-ups, and pull plenty of buses, champ. And he was referring to Mr. Satan. He was essentially his producer in the series. And
I did not remember that.
They did a lot with episode 60 recently, too, which, by the way, bravo, guys. That was just an hour and 7 minutes of incredible wrapping up the season, and then only to find out that you're coming back for Boo, and I know I'm excited about that. I bet Luis is even more excited, because that's your favorite arc of Z, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's my favorite, and I cannot wait to see what they do with Majin Buu.
I'm just stoked. They're gonna do some great stuff. But there were a lot of season 1 callbacks in episode 60. What my personal favorite was when Trunks got revived by the Dragon Balls, and he's like, yes, it's a very lovely desk. Now, can I please... They referred to both King Yama's mahogany desk, and then Trunks saying at least he had his clothes back, which was a callback to Vegeta being killed by Frieza, and Goku having that hallucination of him. Idiot, you don't take your clothes with you when you die. They did a lot of good tying up loose ends. And I liked that, because episode 60 honestly did feel like a series and a season finale at the same time. And in a lot of ways it was. I mean, we're going to get the Boo saga, which is fantastic, but we're losing a lot of characters that we've been able to fall in love with over the last few years. Like, Masako X is not going to play Gohan anymore. That's, it's sad to think about, because he pulled it all out for the finale. I absolutely loved Super Duper Saiyan Gohan.
Yeah, man. It's really weird to think about because even in the original series, the characters grow and change in such a way that sometimes it doesn't even feel like the same series, which I understand why people say that the Dragon Ball should have ended at Cell, as much as I disagree completely. But especially with like TeamFourStar, because these characters, even more so than like the English dub, these characters have such a specific voice, in
Yeah.
such a specific character as themselves, that them changing is a drastic change. It's just, I don't know how to describe it. It's just really weird, and I am looking forward to. At least I assume that Masako X is gonna be playing Goten, and I think that will be wonderful. But I don't know, man. It's gonna be weird.
I hope that he does. I remember a long time ago. I don't know if it was on Team 4Star's website or their YouTube channel, but they had a cast list going in the description for a long time, and they had Lanny Pator listed as Goten like years ago. So I'm not sure if they're still continuing with that or how it's gonna go, but I am excited about it, and I think that a lot of people. It's understandable when people want things to end with the Cell Saga. I love the Buu Saga. I always have, but it does feel a bit jarring because the gap between Cell and Buu is, I mean, we get about as much time passes between Cell and Buu as had passed from the beginning of Dragon Ball Z up until that point. So it's really rough to have that big of a transition. And for me, even back in just the dub days of Dragon Ball Z and even Dragon Ball Kai, I love Kaya Bear's Gohan. I always have, but Gohan was always the most jarring character for me. Like Goku and Vegeta, they're the same. Vegeta's got shorter sleeves, Goku hasn't changed one bit. But Gohan went through major changes. Like he's an adult now. And we got to brace ourselves for the abridged version of that.
It's funny that you brought up the cast list that they had for the future seasons where they had. I remember looking at that years back because I remember I don't know what it was. There was a point like 2009, 2010 where their YouTube channel got shut down, and there was just a bunch of re-uploads of some of their videos, and some of my favorites were the songs they made for the Christmas specials. Or something like that. I'm not sure how that whole thing worked out.
Oh my! I think I have their Christmas song somewhere.
Yeah, man. Yamcha, the Scarface Bandit,
yes!
Classic song, so good.
Here comes Son Goku. Here comes Son Goku.
Exactly.
I gotta dig those out.
And I remember looking at one of the re-uploads had the cast list for on the description, and I was like, oh no, I guess they ended they ended the series. They're not gonna continue. And I looked at the cast list. I was like, never mind. They're gonna continue to Buu. But that was like years back. Now it's 2018. It's been 8 years. It's crazy.
I hope to hear them discuss it at some point in an open forum, at how they came to the decision to do Buu, because it really felt. For a while, I mean, we had over a year between episode 59 and 60, and with good reason. It was a fantastic episode that was over an hour long. It was the biggest feat they've done with Dragon Ball Z Abridged so far. But I would like someday to hear what the discussion was, what led them to the decision, like, okay, we're gonna do Buu, because this time last year, I thought, I started getting worried we might not even see the end of the season for a long time, just because you could feel the exhaustion with them. It had been so much time and so much work. And not to mention I'm glad that they have a lot of patient fans, because they have a lot of impatient fans too. Mm-hmm. With like, where's the next episode? They don't owe you anything. It's been a labor of love from all of them. And I don't know, it always used to drive me nuts to hear or rather read comments of everybody just, when Broly, when this, like, when it happens, that's when. It's difficult. It's a lot of editing. And I haven't done nearly the amount of work, but I understand, too, that for a long time people were like, well, why doesn't Kaiser just bring in another editor? It's not that simple. When you're the creative director of the series, it's very hard to find somebody that's going to mesh with you and then be able to share those files back and forth without any kind of an issue. it makes sense to be a one-man show when it comes to the editing. And if you want good quality, you gotta wait when it comes to that.
For sure, man, for sure. I gotta tell you, Kaiser Neko, I have so much respect for that dude. He's gotta be one of not only one of the most talented people around. He's a voice actor. He's an editor. He's one of the best editors I've seen on YouTube, for damn sure. And he's just an all around awesome person.
Yeah.
I remember when he was getting married, when he said that he was gonna get married. Man, I was so happy for him because he deserves all the happiness in the world. I swear,
I feel like that's been years ago already too.
Yeah, exactly. And I have so much respect for him because he's a very positive force in the fandom, and I can relate to him a lot because I don't know. There was back in the day, there was a lot less so now. There was a lot of hate towards people who like the Japanese version. But he was one of the people that said, "No, dude, the Japanese version is great. Let me use the Japanese soundtrack on Abridged, and let me talk openly about Masato Nozawa and stuff like that." And it was great.
I like their mix with that too, which is, Kaiser he's seemed to be very strongly rooted in the Japanese dub, I'm sorry, not just in the Japanese version, and then Lanny he seems to really enjoy both, but I believe Lanny is the reason that we get as much dub in that show as we do.
Really?
And
I thought that was
the two of them
Takahana.
have always seemed to work together. Honestly, I couldn't tell you. I read a tweet years ago, and I couldn't tell you for sure anymore. But I remember a couple videos of, Lanny's Piccolo and Vegeta are both based on the dub.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, I really don't know. I've never had the pleasure of sitting down and actually speaking with any of them. I was briefly in a video with Takahata 101, not that he would ever know about it, for a series that ended up getting canceled, but it was nothing that we actually worked on together. It was a project that we both auditioned for, both got parts in. The trailer came out, so both of our voices are in that video. Amber Lee Connors, actually, as well, the voice of Android 18. And then, it just never happened, so... One of the sadder points. That was a very exciting day when that video came out for me.
What a shame.
But now that you're mentioning, I really am not sure. But I do remember a video somewhere of Lanny saying that I think he was playing like Budokai 3, and he used to scream Vegeta voices, and that's where he kind of found his.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I have watched that video. My brother, I've never really watched their gaming YouTube channel. My brother did a lot. I haven't seen him watch it in a while. I remember that a specific episode that you're talking about, because he was watching it.
I've binged a few. It really depended on the game for me. I enjoyed their content, but I was waiting for new episodes so much. And honestly, by the time I really got into TeamFourStar, that's when I decided to start doing Dragon Ball stuff myself, which ate up a lot of my time.
Yeah, I gotcha. But we should talk about the other series they have, at least a little bit. Have you watched Hellsing Abridged or the one episode of Teen Titans? What the heck, of Attack on Titan Abridged?
Attack on Titan. Yes, Attack on Titan, I believe, came out the same day that they released Dead Zone, and Archie, one of the three members that comprises Dragon Ball University, he's actually the one that got me into TeamFourStar. And then oddly enough, Jared, who another member of our team, discovered the series at the same time, but not through the same means. Like, I came to his house to say, "Dude, have you heard of?" And he's like, "Dude, have you heard of Dragon Ball Z Abridged?" But Archie just moved back up into the area recently, which is why our content has been coming out a bit more often lately. But before that, he was visiting roughly once every year to a year and a half, and he just happened to be staying at my place for the weekend when Attack on Titan Abridged and Dead Zone Abridged came out, and that was a fun day for us. I believe it or not, I watched their Attack on Titan Abridged is what got me into Attack on Titan. Like, I hadn't bothered yet, and now it's probably my second favorite anime, although to be fair, this might sound bad. I'm not a huge anime guy. I'm a huge Dragon Ball guy, and that's really it. So when I say second favorite anime, it's not like I have this extensive list. But it was one of those ones that it just became so popular off the bat that I was like, nah, man, I'm not going to watch that. And then I saw Attack on Titan abridged and loved it, and then ended up going back and seeing Stefan Krosik's abridge on Titan as well, which is a shame that's not coming back.
Yeah, I know. But both of them were really good.
Now,
but
Hellsing's series finale is this year, right?
Sorry?
I'm pretty sure Hellsing's series finale is going to be this year.
It is. That's one thing. I have my one of my best friends ever. His name is Austin. Austin and I, we go way back to 7th grade. Him and I, we would, every time a Dragon Ball episode came out, a Dragon Ball Abridged episode came out, I would go over to his house to spend the night. We would watch it, and it was some of the best times we've had. And he got really into Hellsing because of Hellsing Abridged. I could never really get into that show, but he loved it. And TFS has been a link between us ever since, and it's been great. I didn't bring up the Machine Abridge, the Final Fantasy VII. That one's also really funny, but I'm not that well.
I actually haven't started season 2 of that yet.
Sorry?
I watched all of season 1. I watched it both on an episode-to-episode basis, and then I watched the complete season when they released it in one video, but I have not yet gotten to season 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
get on that.
They're really funny, and there's a lot of the video game Abridged series. One of them was Metal Gear Abridged is hilarious, but I don't think anybody's done it as well as they have with Final Fantasy Abridged. And I'm not even a Final Fantasy fan, but I thought it was really good.
That's the thing, though. They really, not to kiss your asses too much, guys, but you take anything and you spin gold out of it. And don't get me wrong, I love Final Fantasy VII. I love the Final Fantasy series and have for a very long time, but they seem to perfect the art in ways that just others can't. And I mean, we never would have gotten anywhere if it weren't for Little Karibo with any of this. He started all of it, and it was great to see that he not only became the narrator for Dragon Ball Z Abridged, but the voice of Frieza. And honestly, he's one of my favorite voices of Frieza out there, period. But they just are able to do something with abridging that no one else can. And especially between Hellsing Ultimate, Final Fantasy as well, but between Hellsing Ultimate Abridged just from start to finish, and I think most especially season 3 of Dragon Ball Z Abridged, there is, I believe I said it last week, but there is no fat in their scripts whatsoever. Every single word is exactly where it needs to be. They don't seem to miss a beat on any joke at all. The only one I think I recall them missing, and it was, who's to say if somebody misses a joke, it's their series. They're the ones that are writing it. But one of the things they said was one of their biggest missed opportunities was at the end of DBZ Abridged Season 2 when Piccolo got blasted by Frieza and Gohan didn't say, "Why didn't you dodge?" But then they made up for it with Dragon Ball Z Kai Episode 2, which, by the way, I cannot wait for Kai Episode 3 now.
Oh, man. They've got... they haven't announced anything, but there's things that are coming, and I'm so excited for, BoJack. BoJack's gonna be so good.
And watching season 1 today, it made me remember they did a lot of BoJack jokes early on. So, are we going to get Yar BoJack? Because I kind of hope so. I really, really hope so. And Kaiser actually said it on Twitter, I believe, just yesterday, too. But I hadn't even thought about it. BoJack is going to be the send-off for a lot of these characters. Both Kaiser's Trunks, Masako's Gohan, and there was one other I can't remember that he had mentioned.
BoJack.
Well, yeah, BoJack himself. But the characters that we've been seeing a lot of in Season 3, BoJack is going to be the last that we get to see of them. And that makes me sad.
Yeah, it is sad. But you know what I noticed? I just thought about this now. It's kind of random. But did you notice that they... I don't know who was responsible for this. I'm going to assume that it was probably Kaiser. But they... instead of... Because in the anime, everybody helps Gohan, tries to help Gohan in the final Kamehameha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That did not happen.
Yep, they did it like the manga did. So it's just Vegeta that helps, which I thought was cool. I mean, I like the anime version better, and I expected them to use that. But the way they did it, it was really good, and I really loved their interpretation of it.
Yeah, it made it very surprising for me because I had been expecting that moment, for several episodes now, I've been thinking, what are Tien and what are their speeches going to be in their head? What's Tien going to say? What's Yamcha going to say? Krillin, Piccolo, and then just to see Vegeta's Big Bang come in and hit him, and then oh shit, it was very unexpected for me, but I loved how they ended it, and including the Frank Sinatra bit. A lot of people apparently didn't, and they did it their way, man.
Man, you know, I like to think of Dragon Ball Abridged, and I know we're getting short on time right now, but I like to think of Dragon Ball Abridged as Krillin's story in some ways, you know?
Especially with that ending. It ended all Krillin.
Exactly. And that made me realize that a lot of times I feel like if Dragon Ball is Goku's story, if most of Z is Gohan's story, Dragon Ball Abridged feels like Krillin's tale. Like this is how Krillin would write the story of Dragon Ball down in a book.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you're on the same page as me that Krillin is freaking awesome, right?
I love Krillin.
Okay, good. Like I don't understand how Krillin gets so much hate. Like he's we're gonna do. I'm pretty sure every episode we say we're gonna do a whole episode of this, but we gotta do a whole episode of Krillin because Krillin is God. He's just so much better than people give him credit for, and I think DBZ Abridged nailed that. And it almost seems like they were in the same mindset early on. Like they made Krillin. They were having Yamcha crack jokes about Krillin in season 1, and by the end of the series, Yamcha was the butt of every joke, which I just thought was fantastic. And I mean, Krillin resetting his own counter at the end of it, that, to be honest, for me, was what really, between Goku's speech and then Krillin losing his own counter, I was sure, like, this is the series finale of Dragon Ball Z Abridged. So then to see, like, it will return in season 4 with We Got a Power in the background, I'm like, it was a big sigh of relief. But at the same time, I really hope these guys take just a much, much deserved vacation for as long as they need. Yeah. Because they worked their asses off. I mean, there wasn't a huge gap between season 2 and 3. I remember season 2 ending like, oh, I wonder how long it's going to be. And it seems like a few months later, we got the Garlic Jr. saga episode, which really was more the Marin and Krillin episode. And then before we know it, Cyborg Frieza was here, Trunks was here, and it's been 6 years of androids and Cell. And it's just been awesome. So I really hope that they give themselves a nice pat on the back and a vacation and a sigh of relief for at least a little while.
Me too. Because they definitely deserve it. You know, I wanted to talk about something specific. What do you think is your favorite, if not episode? Because I know it's kind of hard to think specific episodes.
I was fearing that question.
Yeah, but either episode or gag or character, any of those things. What's your favorite thing about the show?
Ooh, well, I was honestly thinking, like, when we were prepping to sit down and record this, like, I was honestly going, like, I'm not going to ask him what his favorite episode is, and I hope he doesn't ask me. Because, honestly, my answer for episode is whatever the newest episode is. Because every single time, they've knocked it out of the park even harder than they did last time. And that might sound a little cheesy, but really, every new episode is my new favorite because it gets that much better every single time. That being said, running gags, things like that, I loved Super Kami Guru. That whole, especially when they brought it back around with Super Kami Dende. Like I loved that. But there's really so much.
I agree.
Think I honestly I'd have to come back to this, and I know we can't really come back to this. So for some of the more recent stuff, I loved that Cell just had this inclination to be nice to Yamcha. I don't know why, but it started for me with like, oh, hey, Yamcha, how's it going, man? When he showed up at the tournament and he's saying, oh, by bringing water bottles and towels, he's already contributed more than Vegeta. And he was just unnecessarily nice to him throughout the entire Cell games. I want to say the Krillin own count because it was such a long running gag, but that also kind of spits in the face of me saying that Krillin is the man, so I can't really go there either. So I just all of it, really all. If anything, it's my favorite part of the entire series is not even a running gag. It's when they take themselves seriously. Vegeta going Super Saiyan for the first time, even though that had jokes in it, that sent shivers down my spine the first time I saw him beat the shit out of Android 19. His countdown, like, oh, you just initiated your self-destruct sequence. That was awesome. And it was, for me, only topped by Gohan going Super Saiyan 2. That moment was just, even my wife, she was sitting there watching it with me like, this seems out of character. Like, this seems way more serious than anything I've ever seen from that show, because she's watched quite a bit of it. She's seen a lot of it over my shoulder just from me watching it and gotten in on a lot of the jokes and gags, but she watched the whole finale with me, and when he transformed, she's like, that was powerful. And that was really how I felt about it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
how do you have a favorite running gag yourself, or episode or anything of the sort?
Yeah, it's a really hard question, and I don't know if I regret asking it, but I don't know if I have a favorite episode. That may be the Marin and Krillin episode, honestly.
One
Just
was pretty
because,
good.
yeah, I use those quotes from that to my girlfriend all the time, just because they're so funny, and that's probably my favorite episode. My favorite, besides that, my favorite movie will probably have to be the Lord Slug one, because I it's probably nostalgia more than anything, honestly, because I remember I don't know if it was exactly Christmas night, but it was close to it at least. But I remember staying up because I had to go to work early. But I remember I was one of the first people to click on that video, watched it all the way through, and I fell asleep happy. It was so great.
Oh, there's a good window for you to figure out about when I got into Dragon Ball Z Abridged. I watched the premiere of Revenge of Cooler, but Lord Slug had already been out. So somewhere between Lord Slug and Cooler was when I got into DBZ Abridged.
Yeah.
I remember
gotcha.
when Cooler 2 the return. No, it was Cooler 1. It was actually Archie. It was before Archie moved away, right after we hadn't yet started the channel, but we had formed our group and had come up with the ideas that we were going to do. And I want to say it was his name. No, I was staying with a friend nearby and had no internet. And Archie gave me permission to go to his house, and I stood outside of his house with my laptop and put headphones in and watched Cooler's Revenge on his Wi-Fi connection with a lot of lag because I was outside. But yeah,
Man.
that was Cooler's Revenge.
That's awesome. That's great. It's great that we have
sometimes-
these stories.
Absolutely. I would like to honestly get into more of them. We might have to do a DBZ Abridged Part 2 retrospective sort of thing.
For sure.
Return of DBA Podcast, The Reckoning. I remember too that Cooler's Revenge in particular was one of the ones that was one of the first times that I truly preferred an abridged voice to a canon or dub voice. General Ivan's Cooler was awesome. I remember I loved their Cooler somehow even more than I liked Cooler before. And Cooler's Revenge was my favorite movie for a while because I was like 15 when it came out. And now looking back on it, I still like it, but I'm embarrassed to say that I liked the dub music a lot. Like, even bands that I'm still into at 31 years old are because of Dragon Ball Z movies. Like, Finger 11 was in both Lord Slug and Cooler's Revenge. I'm still into Finger 11 years later because of Dragon Ball Z. I mean, they had Disturbed in Lord Slug. And looking back, I can't even watch it anymore. It's so out of place watching Goku transform to Stupefy. But back then, I really liked it because I was a stupid teenager.
I mean, it's funny. It's funny that you mentioned Disturbed and Lord Slug, because remember that Nappa sings Stupefy in Lord Slug.
Oh my
TFS.
god, that's right.
You
For the
remember that?
credits, wasn't it?
Yeah, actually, it's funny that you got into Disturbed because of the original Funimation version, because I got into Disturbed because of the TFS version.
That's fantastic.
That's awesome. That's so funny.
It shows our age gap just a little bit, but it's...
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really great.
Oh, wow.
All right, well, it's unfortunately time to wrap it up, which is a shame because I've been really, really enjoying this one. So I definitely think, expect to see a DBZ Abridged Part 2 in the future, because there's a lot of things, once the conversation got going, there's a lot of things that I realized I no longer had time to say. But the biggest thing that I want to say for this one in particular, thanks, guys. It's been a hell of a 10-year ride, or I guess a 7-year ride for me, a 10-year ride for Luis, but just thank you. You have done more for this community than I think even you realize, and I'm pretty sure you know what you've done. So just thanks. It's been incredible, and I can't wait to see Boo. Honestly, I hope it's not for another year or so. Just take yourselves some time off. We'll take BoJack when you're ready. We'll do all of it when you're ready, but just thank you.
Me too. Thank you, all of you guys. I would name each one of you my name if I could. Sadly, I don't actually know your aliases, but Kaiser, Masako, Lenny, Takahana, all of you guys, I love you guys. You've been a large part of my fandom for the longest time, and I'm really glad you're finally getting a well-deserved break. I'm glad you guys are being successful. You guys are actually doing dubs. You guys are doing games now. It's fantastic, and I really wish you guys the best.
Absolutely. Well, and thank you, all of you who are listening to this as well, for listening to us thank other people. And yeah, we really appreciate it. And we'll see you guys next Sunday.
Thanks for listening, guys. Till we meet again.
Take it easy.